Just to introduce us, who's on the line tonight, my name is Kelly McGarrix. I'm the Fraternity Public Relations Chairman right now for Kappa, and I became a Kappa at the University of Pittsburgh, which is Gamma Epsilon chapter. And also on the line with us tonight is Corey Woods. She is our webinar producer, and she currently serves the fraternity as the coordinator of chapter development for Eta Tau, and she was a Kappa at Zeta Omicron in Richmond. I want to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be covering tonight. Talk a little bit about what the definition is of social media, as well as the current social media landscape in 2014. We have a lot of social media options and platforms out there. Drill it down a little bit and talk about social networking and how you can use social networking. Talk about the basics of the most popular social networking sites and how you can use them in your personal life, perhaps in your professional life, and also in your Kappa role. So we'll talk a little bit about how chapters, alums, and alumni associations are using social media. Give you links to Kappa's official social media sites if you don't already know them. A little bit about some resources if you're looking to get more information about any of the social media platforms and social networking we discussed tonight. And we will do questions and answers throughout the webinar, and we'll also, at the end, we'll address take some of your questions as well. Some of you may be familiar with these Kappa webinars. Some of you may have attended them before, but just to give you a little basics or a refresher about how it works. If you have a question during the webinar, please use your chat window and you can send a message, just type a message to Corey, and she will go through them and we'll answer them periodically and also at the end of the webinar. If it's a really specific question or if it's just a question we just maybe don't have time to cover in the time frame that we have this evening, or if it's something that I just don't know the answer to right away, I can follow up with you after the webinar. And if you aren't connecting with your speakers and you find that there is an echo or it just sounds kind of you're getting feedback, I would recommend then using the telephone option in GoToWebinar instead and just dial in with either your landline or a cell phone and using the access code that's provided in your GoToWebinar screen. And if you do need to step away or if you have a friend that couldn't make it this evening, this webinar will be archived. And all attendees will be informed when it's up and ready to be viewed. Okay, so we're going to get started with what is social media. And I have here kind of a little splash screen here of some logos and some social media sites that you may or may not be familiar with and have heard of. And some of these we are going to be covering tonight. Of course, we have Facebook on there and Twitter and Pinterest and YouTube, of course, for sharing videos. And then there are some other ones that you may or may not have heard of. We're not going to be covering all these in the time we have this evening, but just to give you a few of the more popular ones that are listed on there. We have WordPress. If you have ever read a blog, it may have been written with WordPress. That's a blogging platform. There's Flickr, which is a great photo sharing site. And there's Meetup, which is a great place to meet those maybe in your area that have similar interests as you. There's also MySpace, which is kind of the precursor to Facebook and kind of fell by the wayside, but it's gotten popular once again. So social media, just to define it, it's pretty much information posted online that's meant to be shared. So to take some examples that you may already be doing in your personal life, you may put on Facebook a status update about some interesting thing you're doing or a really cool place you went. You may post vacation pictures. You may post photos or videos of your children or grandchildren. Or you might find a really interesting article on, say, CNN or some other website, and you want to post a link to that article and also comment on it and share it with those on your social network. Professional examples that you could use depending on what line of work you're in, and that you also might just come across other companies doing online. Companies sharing information about a new product, an organization promoting a cause, and that also includes Kappa. And let's say, for instance, you like on Facebook a store or a particular restaurant, and that restaurant's announcing a new menu, and you'll get that information on there. So that's some ways that companies can use social media. So in a nutshell, social media enables people to share information with friends, colleagues, and customers using the internet. And to drill it down, I'll talk about actually the social media landscape. I found this infographic online, and if you're interested in finding out a little bit more, the website there at the bottom, it's where I found this graphic, and it's fredcavaza.net. And it's kind of interesting. It talks about, or it shows you the platforms that are right now in 2014 that are out there. It's not, I don't think it's an exhaustive list, but you can see how many social media platforms are out there. And if you take a look in the inner spokes, the white section there kind of shows you the purpose of some of these. So for instance, if you look at the publishing section, it has in there the little logo for WordPress, which we talked about, which is for blogging. Tumblr, same thing. It's a way to blog online. Then you have sharing, things like the letter P with the red circle, which we're going to be talking about. That's Pinterest. That's a fun site for virtual bulletin boards that let you share ideas for crafts and recipes and fashion. We have the one that also under sharing that looks like a little camera, a square camera, and that's the logo for Instagram, which we'll also be talking about, which is a way of sharing cool photos online that you can do neat filters with. And then next to that, there's social media platforms for playing, so if you'd like to play games online. And then down in the networking section, one of those that we're going to be talking about is LinkedIn, and that's a great social network for professionals. Next to that, in the buying section, you may have heard of a website called TripAdvisor, or an app which is where you can share reviews for hotels and restaurants and get some information for vacations. And then next to that is localization. So that's a category, things like Yelp, which would let you find, say, a dry cleaner in your neighborhood, or a restaurant in your neighborhood, or a gas station or something. And Foursquare, which lets you check into a place and see if any of your friends are also in that same restaurant or nearby or in that same movie theater. So this just kind of shows you what's out there in 2014 and how it's being used, how these different platforms are really used for different things. And then smack in the center, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, which we are going to talk about each of those. And the reason they're in the center is because you can do pretty much all those things with those social media platforms. Oops. Okay. So social networking, to drill it down a little bit further, we said what social media is. Social networking related to social media, it's the use of online communities to engage with others. So some examples: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Those are 5 we're going to be covering tonight. And social networking sites and apps typically include tools that make it easier for you to interact and have a conversation with others online. For instance, on Facebook, there's a post. On Twitter, there's what's called a tweet. On Facebook and Instagram, there's something called a like. If you like a content that somebody else has posted, you can like it. And there are social networking sites that require approval to connect with somebody. For instance, on Facebook, there's the term friending, which we'll talk about. So if somebody friends you, or if you friend somebody else, that person has to give permission to become connected with you on Facebook. Same thing for LinkedIn. If there's a colleague or somebody you've worked with or somebody maybe in your field who wants to connect with you, you need to give approval for that person to connect with you. And then there are other sites and other platforms that are more open by default, like Twitter and Instagram, where unless you lock down your account, anybody can follow you, and anybody can see your tweets, and anybody can see your photos on Instagram, unless you change those settings. Okay, and I'm actually, okay, we're going to go through this one slide, and then we're going to stop to see if we have any questions. Some reasons you might want to use a social network, and there are so many, and we saw that infographic, that circle, and we talked about how we can share and we can use it for networking and all different reasons. But just some basic reasons. Friendship is a major reason why people use social networks, especially Facebook, because it really is a friendly, easy-to-use site. So you might want to keep in touch with old friends, with new friends, with neighbors. It also helps you develop new relationships with those you may have just met. We talked about the sharing aspect: photos, videos, links, things you're interested in. And of course, there's a sense of community, and organizations and businesses use it to promote themselves, to promote their company and their products, also to promote causes and beliefs, and as a way of promoting advocacy for certain causes. So those are just some of the reasons you might want to use a social network. And I'm going to actually pop out of here because I don't have my GoToWebinar screen up. Corey, do we have any questions so far?
Not yet.
Okay. And I'm going to move along. And we're going to go on to our first social media platform. Let me get back into my slideshow. Okay. So we're going to start with Facebook, and I know from looking at the report, for all of you that registered, you could put in there some things you wanted to learn and some things questions you had, and I know from looking at that some of you are already using Facebook. So we are going to start with that just because some of you may not be, or you'd like to learn a little bit more about it. So for those of you that feel you're already comfortable with Facebook, just know that we're going to be moving on to other social media sites as well. But we are going to start with this one. And Facebook, www.facebook.com is the website, and it's the world's most popular social networking site for several reasons. It's very easy to connect and share information with family and friends. It's just has a really good user-friendly interface. It's very feature-rich as well, and just has become more so over the years. To give you a little bit of background, you may have seen the movie The Social Network, and if you did, then you kind of know this, and if you haven't, it is an interesting movie to see. But it was launched back in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg, and it was initially launched as a way for Harvard students to connect online. So there is something called a Facebook. You may have heard that term, and that's basically a college directory of almost like a yearbook, so that college students can see when they go off to college in their freshman year, they can kind of connect with others. So that's where the term comes from. It used to be called The Facebook when it was launched. So it was eventually expanded to allow anybody with a .edu user email address to register on Facebook. So anybody that went to any college or university could then apply for a Facebook account. But it just started to become so popular that in 2006 it was expanded to allow anyone who's 13 or older with a valid email address to join. And today there are more than 1 billion active users on Facebook. And you can access it either from your computer, or you can use the app, the Facebook app, on a smartphone, so an iPhone or a Droid or an iPad or any other tablet. Joining, it's pretty simple. You just go to the Facebook website and sign up with some basic information, and you do need to put your birthday in there because, again, you need to be 13 or older in order to have an account. And you need to put your gender in there and sign up. And then once you do sign up, I know one of the concerns with Facebook is privacy. And we're not going to go in depth to the privacy settings in Facebook because that really could be its own webinar, but I will show you when we pop out of this slideshow in a minute and go into my Facebook profile, I will show you where those privacy settings are. And he kind of keeps changing them over the years, and so if you want to make sure that your profile is locked down, you can go in there periodically and go into your Facebook settings, and you can really control what people can see, what your friends can see, what those people who are trying to connect and be friends with you can see. So certainly it's a concern, and it should be, because you want to make sure that your information is private and you only show what you want to show. So what can you do on Facebook? And those of you, again, if you're already using it, you may already be doing some of this. But if you're not, these are some of the reasons you might want to be on Facebook. So you can post what's called a status update. So, you know, something you're doing at the time, something funny that happened to you, or something funny your kids did or said, or just random observations. So that's basically just called a status update if it's just text. You can connect with old and new friends. So you might find your high school friends, college friends you haven't talked to in a long time, long-lost family members, or family members you don't see very often, but you can see them on Facebook, colleagues, neighbors. You post pictures and videos, and the videos are short videos, and you can, I think they're up to 15 seconds, and they would appear in the feed that we'll see in a couple minutes, just like pictures would. In addition to posting, you can just view. Some people I know just connect to Facebook to view others, to connect with their friends. They don't necessarily post, like my mother-in-law, for example. She doesn't really post on Facebook, but she loves looking at pictures of her grandkids and pictures of her other family members that post online. So you can view those that you're connected with, their status updates, pictures, and video. You also might want to post and view links to articles and other online content. Mentioned before, you can play games. There's some really popular games on Facebook. Learn about an organization or a company. You can shop indirectly via Facebook, via links that are posted by companies on there, and promote a cause or organization or your business. You could have a Facebook page for your own business on Facebook. Okay, some terms that are used on Facebook, and we're going to jump out of jump out of here in a second and go on Facebook, you'll be able to see them in action. So I mentioned before about friending someone. What that means is that you are confirming that you know that person and you are willing to let that person view what you post on Facebook. Unfriend someone is the opposite. If you friended somebody and you find that you're not liking what they're posting, maybe they're just doing a lot of political rants or something, and you're just tired of seeing all that, certainly you can unfriend them. Or if it's somebody that you don't have a relationship anymore, you can unfriend them. You can also just hide them so that they won't pop up in your news feed, and I can show you how to do that. You can like something. We mentioned before, that means that you just basically, it means what it says. You like something that somebody else is posting. Comment on something. I'll show you how to do that. And what a news feed is, and a timeline, and you can write on someone's wall. So we're going to pop out of here for 1 second, and I'm going to go to my Facebook profile. And let me see. And we're going to start with, this is my personal Facebook profile. So this is my personal one. So let's say I wanted to just, for instance, type a status. I wanted to post something that's going on. All I would do is just type in here, I'm doing a, let's say I'm doing a webinar right now, if I can type. And so if I would click post, it then would appear along with all these other posts here in my feed. Oh, there's Elizabeth's post there. And you see some other buttons here for posting, and what these allow you to do, say for instance, and I have Corey on the line here, let's say Corey and I, we went out for a girls' night, we went out for dinner, okay, and let's say we said, great girls' night out. And again, I'm not posting these because they're not real status updates, but you get the gist. So I said, great girls' night out, and Corey and I are friends on Facebook, so who are you with? So I'm going to add Corey here. And so with Corey Woods. So what that means is that anybody who's friends with Corey will see that, because it's going to pop up on anybody's page who's friends with Corey. And let's say we wanted to go one step further and we wanted to say where we went. So there's a great little restaurant up the street from me. Yeah, there we go, Stone Cove Kit Bar in Herndon. And let's say, great girls' night out with Corey Woods at Stones Cove Kit Bar. So if I posted that right now, again, anybody that's friends with Corey would see that, and then anybody who actually has liked the page Stone Cove Kit Bar it would actually also appear on their profile. So those are just some things you can do with status updates. Okay, so I'm going to take Corey out of here, take this out of here. And you see you can also add photos or videos, which a lot of people are doing here in my feed. They're either posting links or there's a lovely picture. It is International Badge Day today, so I hope you're all wearing your badges. So if you wanted to post or add a photo or a video, you can either do it with this button here, and let's say I'm going to find a picture. I was actually looking at some trip pictures. Oh, here, a picture from Hawaii from last year. So, okay, so I'll post a picture of my kids and, great vacation. Oops. And then if I would click post, any of my friends would see that picture and they would see great vacation above it, just as you would see some of these other things in here. And then this final button here, not used too frequently, but it's kind of fun. You can tell like what you're doing. If you're watching something, you can list, like let's say for example, I was watching House of Cards, great show. I can start typing in here, and actually House of Cards has its own page, so I can say I'm watching House of Cards. I probably wouldn't have this vacation picture in there. Watching House of Cards. Those are just some things you can do with status updates and uploading photos. Let me get out of here. Okay, and I mentioned before that you can also like pages. Pages of businesses. So let's say you like a particular store or a particular restaurant, particular company. I was just somewhere the other night. I was at a restaurant in Philadelphia, and say they have their own page here. And let's say if I like that restaurant, I like them on Facebook. And again, you can do this with anything from any stores you like, Nordstrom, The Gap, whatever. Then whenever they post anything, whether it's a menu update or anything, I'm going to see it in what's called my news feed. And my news feed is basically all my content from all of my Facebook friends. That's my newsfeed, so I can scroll through and see all of that at any given time. Okay, and how you find people on Facebook, there are several different ways, but if you know somebody, if somebody says, oh, you got to friend me on Facebook, you know, and you have an account already, I'm going to search for, this is somebody that's in, it's my husband's aunt actually, and I'm not Facebook friends with her, but let's say I wanted to become Facebook friends with her. So I find her, and I would click here, the add friend button, that green button, and she would then have to approve me. And if she did, then we would be connected, and I would see all of her information that she posts on Facebook. Okay. I talked before about the profile settings or the privacy settings. If you see here, there's a little gear here in the upper right-hand corner, and it says Settings. And there's a privacy section here. And so they try to make it kind of user-friendly. So who can see my stuff? So who can see your posts? You can edit that. Who can contact me? Who can send me friend requests? So those are the things you might want to lock down, and also periodically check them and see if they've changed or if there are other options in there, and that way you can lock it down to the level that you want to, that you feel comfortable. And the last thing I wanted to show you was Facebook. We talked about hiding somebody. So if somebody's just posting a lot of stuff and it's just it's filling up your feed and you don't want to see it anymore, you can click the little arrow next to them, and this is where if you can actually unfollow somebody. So you're unfriending them. I guess they call it unfollow now. Or I don't want to see this, and it's then going to ask me, do you not want to see anything from her? Or do you not want to see, you know, particular posts she posts? So you can control what you see there too. Corey, do we have any Facebook questions coming in?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
So we have one from Linda who's asked about alumni associations using Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So if an alumni association opens a Facebook page, they do not do so as a person, but as an organization, obviously, nonprofit, where the format and ability to use as a group is different than as an individual. For example, a group cannot solicit friends, but have to wait until someone likes the group and joins. Is there a way to use your address book to invite people to friend your alumni association?
Yes, there is, because I was just doing that, and I might have to actually get back to her on that, because I was doing that. Let me see if I can find it now, actually, because I have we just created a page for Kappa Kappa Gamma Public Relations Chairman, and I know there was a way in here. Gosh, how did I do that? It gave me a link, and then which is what I used. Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I can't remember, but there's some place in here where there's a link which I then used to send out to all the PR chairmen and chapter presidents, and it was a link right to that particular page. And then they could. It's still a closed group, so that they requested membership, and then we approved them as they requested. But I just need to find out where that link is, because I only did it once, so I'm not sure where that is.
Okay, I've made a note so we can follow up.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm making one too.
And that's it for questions right now.
And if I think of it in the meantime, I will let you know, but otherwise I'll follow up afterwards. Okay. Okay. So, and I have a link there. I found this just when I was putting together this PowerPoint. I just was trying to get some basic information. I found this website, and it's a really in-depth tutorial about Facebook, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And it had videos and it had screenshots. So it's something you might want to check out if you want more in-depth information about Facebook. I would also recommend just going to Facebook's website and using the help section, because that's the most up-to-date information, because Facebook does change as all social media sites do, and so you might be viewing a tutorial that's using a version of Facebook from last year, in which case some of the buttons might not be there anymore. So it's always a great place to start, is to go to the actual social media site that you're trying to find information about. Okay, so if there are no more questions right now about Facebook, and if you think of any, feel free. We can always go back to that. But we're going to move on to Twitter. So Twitter, www.twitter.com, and I feel that this is one out of the social media sites that we're going to cover. Pinterest is really fun and easy to use and pretty user-friendly. Facebook is, Instagram is. I feel Twitter is the one that's maybe not so user-friendly and also just a little bit more daunting because it has all those hashtags and short links and all that. So we're going to talk about using Twitter, and then we'll jump out and take a look at my Twitter profile and talk about hashtags and all those great terms. So just to give you a little background, if you're unfamiliar with Twitter, it's an online social networking and microblogging site. So microblogging is a term that basically means you're posting things that are super, super short. So users on Twitter can read and send what are called tweets, and they are 140 characters maximum. So every one is precious. So if you're putting a link to something, you want to make sure it's there are some websites you can use that shorten links, because if you are sending a link to an article, that might be your whole tweet, and you're not going to have any characters left to put a comment about it. So very short. These are short messages. It was launched in March of 2006, and today there are 645 million users on Twitter. It doesn't mean that they're all tweeting all the time, but that's how many are registered on Twitter. You can access it from a computer via their website. You can also use the app on your smartphone or your tablet or iPad. And there are other Twitter apps, and we'll take a look at one of them. I have TweetDeck up, but there's one that's a great one for your phone that I use instead of using Twitter on my phone. It's called Tweetcaster, and basically it allows you to see your Twitter feed and the people you follow on Twitter, but just in a better way. It's a more feature-rich app, and it's also, I think, more user-friendly. And TweetDeck allows you to see a lot of things at one time, allows you to make it into columns, and we'll take a look at my TweetDeck site. But you can also just use Twitter, which is totally fine too. It's just a different way of looking at the same information. So why use Twitter? And you're going to look at some of these reasons and say, well, that kind of sounds like Facebook. But again, remember, these are short. They're short messages. A lot of times what's on Twitter are links to things. So you might find articles you want to read or links to any kind of useful information, or that people would just not post on Facebook. So online sharing of short thoughts and observations, pictures and videos, just like you could do on Facebook, sharing of links, viewing links to articles about subjects you like, viewing photos and videos, and then people do what's called live tweeting. So during the Oscars last night, for example, you could go on Twitter and you could search for the hashtag Oscars, and we'll talk about a hashtag. You see anything anybody is posting about the Oscars as they're happening. So they might have said, oh, did you see, Jennifer Lawrence's dress was gorgeous, or whatever. So that's what's called live tweeting. It's basically posting things on Twitter as something is happening live. So. And it does tend to be less personal on Facebook. One of the reasons for that is because it is short. Again, 140 characters, that's it. You're very limited to what you can put. To join Twitter, you just go to twitter.com. You can also download the Twitter app for your phone and just put your full name, email, and password. One interesting thing about Twitter is that the username, which is also called a Twitter handle, every username or handle on Twitter is unique. For example, when I signed up for Twitter, I signed up with the name, and the Twitter usernames always start with the @ symbol. So it's @Kay McGarrix. And looking back, I kind of wish I would have chosen something maybe a little easier to remember for people. You don't have to go with your name, but I did that one. But if there already would have been an @Kay McGarrix, I would have had to select something else. So Kappa is official, Twitter is @Kappa Kappa Gamma. So if the username is already taken, you have to select something else because they are unique usernames on Twitter. Getting started on Twitter, so you sign up for an account, and there are ways then you can find people to follow. Either by, if you know their username, you can search for their username and then click follow. You can use the search feature to search for topics or their name. You can also use hashtags, which we'll talk about, and there's also a section in Twitter that's called Who to Follow. And basically it uses who you're following already and who's following you, and then gives you other suggestions. And that's a great way to get started, because if you go in there and you follow certain people or organizations or companies, and then it's going to give you other similar ones. And so it's a really easy way to bump up those you follow on Twitter and get more information in what's called your feed by using that who to follow section. What I find is also super helpful, because sometimes I use the search feature in Twitter and I look for a company name or for a restaurant or something, and I can't find it. And so what I do is I just go out to Google and I do just a straight Google search, and I'll just type the search term and then I'll tack the word Twitter at the end of it. So for instance, to go back to the example I just used a couple minutes ago with Facebook, I was looking at that Square 1682 restaurant and I liked that page. I wanted to find them on Twitter. I used the search feature on Twitter. It wasn't finding it, so I went out to Google. I typed in Square space 1682 space Twitter, and it took me right to their Twitter page. And it turns out that their Twitter name was Square _ 1682. So that's why I think why Twitter couldn't find it. So that's just a great way, a really fast way. I think the fastest way to find somebody's Twitter address, the Twitter username, is to just use Google. You do not have to post on Twitter to read others' tweets. Same thing with when we get to Pinterest and Instagram. So if you just want to sign up for an account and then start following other people, you can certainly do that. My husband doesn't tweet, but he is really interested in sailing, so he just wanted to get on there and follow, the America's Cup and follow Sail Magazine and follow other sailors that are sailing around the world, just to kind of read their tweets. So you don't have to post on Twitter to use it. But if you wish, you can post those tweets, again, 140 characters or less. You can post pictures or links to articles, and there are link shortening sites. I don't know if we'll be able to get into that tonight, but basically it takes a link to an article. So let's say you have cnn.com/world/ and there's an article name, and that could be 140 characters right there. Well, there's one site called tinyurl.com, and there are other sites like that as well, where you just copy and paste that link, and it gives you a super short one. So it doesn't junk up your entire tweet with characters for that whole article. So it lets you then put a comment about that article. So again, with that restriction of 140 characters, Twitter can be really challenging sometimes. So I have terms here, and rather than explain these, because I think it doesn't really do much when I'm just explaining them, so I'm going to jump out again and go on to my Twitter page. In my Twitter page, what I do in my real life is I'm a writer, and I'm mainly a food and wine and drinks writer. So my Twitter feed is pretty much peppered with lots of pictures of food and drink and everything. So let me do this, go home. Okay, so let's see. So the first we're going to talk about is a hashtag. And so you may have heard that term before. And a hashtag is a search term. It's just a way of searching for something on Twitter. And it always starts with a pound sign. So let's say, for example, I wanted to search for cooking. Now, there's probably 8 gazillion tweets on there right now, but it's going to give me the most recent tweets that people have put on Twitter that also include the hashtag cooking. So you can see here there's some recipes. Anybody that put hashtag cooking in here, it also gives me some people that I might want to follow that are probably this one, this is a winery, this is recipes, the Hungry God. So that's one way you can search for those to follow, is by using that hashtag, but it's a search mechanism. So for instance, we use that in Kappa. We use our new tagline, which I already have in there, is aspire to be. And people use that all the time, and we use it on Kappa's official Twitter page too. But again, it's International Badge Day, so I saw a lot of tweets today that had aspire to be. So you have ones in here that are that also say KKG 1870, which is another one that we use in Kappa. So this is giving me all the or the most recent, starting with the most recent ones, tweets that have hashtag aspire to be. So it's a search term. That's what a hashtag is. There are some super common hashtags. Some are really fun. This one we use in Kappa, it's TBT, and that means Throwback Thursday. People also use that on Facebook. So if you ever see hashtag TBT and you're not sure what it means Throwback Thursday, which what that means is people are going to post old pictures of themselves. And this is a lot of junk in here. People are just putting references to it. But if you go on Twitter on Thursday, a lot of times you'll see, and on Facebook too, people do that, just pictures of themselves from their childhood or their high school or college or whatever. So that's one hashtag that people are using. It's pretty popular. We also have over here what's called trends on the lower left-hand side of the screen, and this changes. It's live data. It changes as things change on Twitter. So basically, these are the things that people are posting the most. So last night, the hashtag Oscars was trending because the Oscars were on last night. So there was one earlier today with hashtag snow day because we're getting a lot of snow here in the east. So this changes, and you can click on any of these search terms, and it's going to take you to the most recent tweets for that particular trend. So some other ones that might be coming up that are popular, hashtag St. Patrick's Day in a couple weeks. That'll probably be trending. So it's an interesting just to kind of keep track of that and to see what is trending at any given time. Okay, you may have heard the term retweet, or if you're on Twitter, you may have seen retweet. And what a retweet is it's, so for instance, look at my feed here. Let's say that I really love the fact that this Wine Dine Daily posted about this picture. I wanted to retweet it. And what that does is it takes a tweet and it sends it, or allows all the people who follow me to see that tweet, because otherwise they wouldn't see it unless they also follow Wine Dine Daily. So a retweet allows your followers on Twitter, people who follow you, to see that tweet. And if I wanted to compose my own tweet right now, let's say I wanted to just type something, I can say, if I would just be typing in here, this is a test tweet, and I would click tweet here, and then that would go out to all of my followers. And you can see as I type that the characters next to the blue tweet button, it's counting down. It's showing me how many I have left, because again, 140. So as I go through and I type all this, if I get down to 0 and I get down to negative, I'm going to have to take out characters. It's not going to, this blue tweet button will become disabled. It will not let me tweet it because it's over the maximum. Now you can add photos to your tweets, and you can do this easily with the app on your phone. So if you take a picture on your camera phone, you can easily tweet it. But if I'm doing it from the website, I just used a little camera button here. Let's go back to that. I have this picture of my kids still in here. So if I do that and I add a photo, it doesn't look like it's adding it. Actually, let me type something first and then do it.
Your photo's too large, Kelly.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing that screen. Okay, thank you. Oh, no, I see it. Thank you, I didn't see that. The point that, thank you, Corey. Let me just go to another one here that's, maybe I have something that's super small. I just wanted to show you how it does take, I thought I had some smaller ones here, but I don't. The point that never mind about that, I'm just going to go back out. But the point is, if you do add a photo to it, it's going to just add a link to a photo that your followers will have to click on, and it does take up a certain number of characters. So you'll see that if you add a photo, it's going to start subtracting from that 140 character limit. So, and one other thing I wanted to talk about was actually two things with Twitter. One is what's called a verified account. So on Twitter, you might want to follow, as you may on Facebook, you might want to like a company or a celebrity or somebody famous. So on Twitter, there are lots of people who are who have fan pages and who also are not who you think they are. So for example, I was doing this before. I don't know if anybody saw the Oscars last night, but Ellen DeGeneres tweeted a picture, a selfie picture that was the most tweeted photo ever, and so it was actually tweeted 2 million, I think now it's up to 2,900,000 times. It actually broke Twitter for a time. Twitter was not available, but let me just click on her, and you can see here, there's next to her name here on Twitter, there's a little white arrow with a blue circle, and that means it's a verified account. In other words, that is her official Twitter account. Other times you'll click on, like Jennifer Lawrence, I was on before, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence has so many Twitter accounts that say Jennifer Lawrence or it's Jennifer Lawrence. None of them are verified. They're all just fan pages. So a verified account means that either the company name or the celebrity, it's who they claim they are. So you can be sure because it's verified by Twitter. And then I did want to show you going out. Actually, let me click real quick on my profile. Me. So to get to your profile, you click Me, and these are all my tweets in here, and I have my followers and the number of tweets I've ever had, and these are the people I'm following. And in Twitter, this is your profile here under your name or under your username, and it also has to be limited to 140 characters. So you can't go on in paragraphs and paragraphs about yourself or about your organization. It has to be pretty brief. So you could put a link to your website, you can put what you do or what your interests are, or why you're on there, but it has to be pretty brief. And the last thing I wanted to show you with Twitter, I mentioned before that there are other sites like TweetDeck that allow you to see tweets, but it's just kind of laid out in a different way. So I really like using this because it lays things out in columns. So on the left here is my feed, just as we saw before on Twitter. Next to that, notifications. Those are people that have either started following me and it's telling me that they followed me, or people that have retweeted my tweets or that have replied to my tweets. And then I have all my tweets, and then I also have Kappa's official Twitter site there. So this is just a different way of laying things out. You can categorize it with columns. Again, you're also welcome to just use the Twitter website or the Twitter app on your phone or any of those apps. Corey, do we have any Twitter questions?
No.
Okay. And once we go through we're going to cover a couple other social media platforms, and it'll be, I promise, it'll be a little quicker with those. I think Twitter's a little tricky, but talk about some ways that as an organization, as an active or an alum, you might be using these. So the next one we're going to talk about is Instagram. Let me get back to my slideshow. Okay, Instagram.com. And Instagram, it's completely visual, so it's all photos and all videos. So on Twitter, you can either post, just words. You could just post a random thought. You can post a random thought with a picture. You could just post a picture. You could just post a video. You could post a link. But Instagram is only photos and videos, so no links, no random observations about life. It's really designed for sharing photos and videos, and the videos are brief videos. I think they're 13 or 15 seconds. There are over 100 million active users on Instagram, and users take photos and videos with your camera phone or your smartphone camera or your tablet camera. You can apply a variety of photo effects or filters to those pictures, and you can then share them on Instagram. You can also choose to share them on Facebook and Twitter if you want to. So you can put them on all three. If you have accounts on all three, you could put an Instagrammed picture on all three of those platforms if you wanted to. Photos, the aspect ratio is a little bit different. It's confined to a square shape like the old Polaroid Instamatic pictures. And very similar to Twitter, you can find Instagram users to follow, and their photos and videos will appear in your feed or your stream, just like on Twitter. You can like or comment on the photos and videos of those you follow, similar to Facebook. There's a little heart icon we'll take a look at in a second, and if there's a photo that you like, you just click on the heart, and it's the same thing as a like on Facebook, and you could comment on it, just as the same thing as typing something in on Facebook. To get started with Instagram, again, you can only post photos and videos, and you can only post via the app from your smartphone or your tablet. So you can view people's Instagram pages from a computer, but you can't post pictures from a computer, only from a smartphone or a tablet. Again, you don't have to post in order to follow people on Instagram. You can find Instagram users and follow them and look at their pictures. You don't have to post yourself. Instagram pictures always look better on smaller screens like smartphones anyway, so you see in a little bit when we're out looking at Instagram photos on this laptop, they're bigger. They tend to look a little grainier and just not as high quality because they're meant to be viewed on a smaller screen. So what you can do is download the Instagram app to your smartphone or tablet, and again, select a unique username, just like Twitter. The usernames are unique. And if you plan to use Twitter and Instagram, try to select the same username for both if it's available, and that way it makes it easier for your users, and that way if you do post a photo to both Instagram and Twitter, it comes up properly and people can click on your username and it kind of links it. So it's just if you plan on using both, use the same username. So just, again, Twitter versus Instagram. Instagram is always photos or videos. It's visually based. It's always based on posting a photo or video in a stream. Whereas, as I mentioned before, Twitter can be photos and videos along with or status updates or tweets. Really, they're not called status updates on Twitter, but I just meant to say that it's text and or links to content, things like articles. So Instagram, always visual. Okay, and because Instagram is visual and I can't show you my smartphone, I found a kind of a little 60-second, and it kind of goes by fast, but we'll look at it anyway, a 60-second YouTube video tutorial about Instagram. So I'll just have you, we'll go through this, and you can kind of see. This is somebody scrolling through on his smartphone and looking at pictures, looking at popular photos. You can see he's typing a comment there about a photo. This is, let's see what else, and he's now going to upload something. You can see it's square. He's going to apply, there's all these fun filters that change the look of your picture. So you can make it look retro, you can make it look black and white, you can put a border around the outside of it. So he's just going through these filters and deciding which one he likes best for the picture of his dog. And you can search for a location if you want. You can say, where this was taken and a little comment about it. And it says done, so you can see now Mikey K has his picture of his dog on his feed, and it was square. Okay, so let me jump out. And again, Instagram is, looks better on a smartphone. So, but this is my feed. This is my Instagram feed. I have the same username as I do on Twitter. So if I'm just going through here, these are just the people that I follow on Instagram. These are pictures they post. You see here there's the heart under the picture, and it tells how many people have liked it and their usernames, and then people that wrote comments. I could choose to write a comment on any of these. I could choose to like any of these. But again, all visual. Everything on Instagram has either a photo or a video to it, unlike Twitter and Facebook where they may or they may not. It could be just text. And just to show you, let's click on my profile real quick. So I was talking before, so this is a filter that I use where, it puts a little, like it makes it into a little slide. So there's all these fun filters you can do. Can't get out of here now. Okay. One second, let me close this. Okay. Corey, do we have any questions about Instagram or Instagram versus Twitter?
No. Not yet.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to Pinterest. This is the second last one I believe we're going to cover. And Pinterest, Pinterest.com, really fun site, really fun to look at, and it's really visually appealing, really popular with women. It's a way to collect, view, and share ideas via what are called virtual bulletin boards. And so users, if you're on Pinterest, you can post a bookmark. It's called a pin, which are images gleaned from other websites. So let's say I found a really great recipe on cooking light, and it was wonderful, and I have a Pinterest board that says, easy recipes. So I could then pin that picture to my board that's called Easy Recipes, and anybody who follows me on Pinterest, if they click on that picture, it's going to take them back to the recipe for that dish. So it's not you uploading photos or posting your own pictures, it's sharing pictures that are out there on the web that are related to typically food and cooking, crafts, fashion. There are just certain topics that are just super popular on Pinterest. So you can follow other Pinterest users' boards to see their pins, and again, you don't have to post to view others' content. You can just follow them, and you don't have to post your own pins. You can use Pinterest on your computer via the Pinterest website. You can also use the app on your smartphone or tablet. It was launched in 2009. Today there are more than 70 million users on Pinterest. And around the world, globally, more than 83% of Pinterest users are women. And I just read today when I was looking up that statistic that the only exception to that is in Great Britain, which apparently 56% of the users are men. So kind of interesting. But globally, it's 83% women. So, and you can see that some of the most popular Pinterest topics, you can see why it's really geared towards women and why it's really popular with women. So crafting and cooking, interior design, and fashion, super, super popular on Pinterest. To join Pinterest, you go to Pinterest.com. You can either sign up with your Facebook account. if you already have one. And what that'll do then is if you pin something on Pinterest, it will put it on your Facebook news feed unless you tell it not to do that. Otherwise, you can just sign up with a regular email address. So you can create different bulletin boards. If you're going to be pinning on Pinterest, you can create different bulletin boards with different categories for your pins. So, and you can think of bulletin boards kind of as like file folders. So you might have one that says, if you're into cooking, you might have a folder that says, a bulletin board that says easy weeknight dinners. If you're into making jewelry, ideas for necklace design. If you were redoing something in your house, tropical themed bathroom ideas. If it's something for your association or for your chapter, let's say it's an association, you might have, craft ideas or decoration ideas or food ideas for our social events, that kind of thing. So from a website, there'll be a pin it button depending on which web browser you're using. If you're using Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Firefox or Safari, so you might have to kind of look at the help option for that to see how you get that pin button if you don't have it there. But if you have the app, there'll be a pin it or a share button. Also on some websites, for instance, I have here, this is actually from Cooking Light, and I found this recipe, and sometimes on certain websites there'll be social media buttons for you automatically, which really makes it easy to share things on social media. So right there it has a pin it button, and so if I click that, it's going to take me to my bulletin boards on Pinterest, and it's going to say which one, where do you want to put it. And again, if I had that file folder that was called Easy Weeknight Dinners, or maybe I had one called Mexican Recipes or something, I can pin it there. And you see there's also a tweet button there, so if you wanted to tweet this recipe right out, you could do that from here. Sometimes there's a link to Facebook, and you could post it on Facebook depending on the website. So that's another way to pin things. And Kappa's Pinterest site, which we're going to jump out and take a look at in a second, is really great. There's so many great boards on there, so certainly better than, I don't really use Pinterest that much. But so this is Kappa's official Pinterest site, and you can see all these bulletin boards, and you can see how many pins in each one. So there's one here, oh yeah, it's spring, and it's got 49 pins in it. There's some fun ones down here. I was looking at this one before, Kappa KKG in the home. So if I click on that, it's all fun, decorative ideas that are related to Alice Keys and Fleur-de-Lis. So again, these are not pictures that people uploaded from their own computers. They're links to other things on the web. So here's an owl door knocker. So if I click on that owl door knocker, it's going to tell me where it was. So here it says found on potterybarn.com. Now I don't know when this was posted. It might not be available anymore, so if I click on it, it might say item no longer available. But if it was available, yes, it's just taking me to their site because it couldn't find it. But if it was available, it would take me right to that owl door knocker, and if I really wanted to buy it, I could buy it on potterybarn.com. So it will always take you back by clicking on that pin or that picture. It'll take you back to the source. So whether it was somebody's blog or a shopping website or something. So if you haven't checked out Kappa's Pinterest site, it's really, really great. There's lots of great pins on here. So, but you can see how it really is. It's fun. It's visual. It has lots of applications. Okay. Any questions about Pinterest, Corey?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to mention LinkedIn. We're not going to go out and look at LinkedIn because that can be kind of complex, but I do want to mention it because it is a really popular social networking site. It was launched in 2003. It's a social networking site for professionals, and so today there are more than 260 million users in more than 200 countries. So what you can do is you can upload your skills, your work history. You used to actually be able to upload your resume. Now it's they've done away with that feature, but you can put in your skills, your previous employers, your current employers, your job description, what you did, your education, any awards you won. And then you build connections. So you can think of it a kind of like Facebook for professionals. Oops, sorry. You can build your connections as well as what are called second-degree connections. So those are your connections and third-degree connections. So you can use those connections to, for instance, search and apply for jobs directly from LinkedIn. Employers can search for employees. You can provide references or ask others for references. So Kappa has a LinkedIn page, and it's really helpful for, I know members use it to, if they're relocating to a certain area, if they're looking for an apartment. We have great boards on there and great conversations started on LinkedIn for all kinds of purposes. So it really is a very useful site. To join it, you can go to linkedin.com, all one word, and that's their logo there. Put your information, and once you're in, once you've created your profile, you've put your email and password in there, then what you want to really go do is go in there and fill out your profile. And that does take time because you're putting in, as I mentioned, all your work information and your education and your skills. So to really do a good profile on LinkedIn, you want to sit down and have some time to do that because it does take a while. Okay. And the last one we're going to mention, then we're going to move on to, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I interrupt? Question about LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
When you join LinkedIn, it grabs your address book and sends an addressee, each addressee in your entry in your address book, a message to join you on LinkedIn. How can you protect your address book from LinkedIn?
You should be able to go right into your settings and not be able to, and not invite, and not have it automatically invite your friends to connect with you. And I can't go out to the settings right now and check that, but I assume this person has already created the profile, and did that happen to her, or?
I'm not certain.
Okay. Well, you know what? Write it down as another one to follow up on, because it's in the settings that it shouldn't. I don't know if it's automatic, how it would automatically send it out to your address book, but you should be able, definitely can lock that down so that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it right now.
Okay. And I'll mark that down as well. Okay. This is the last one we're going to touch on, and then we're just going to, I'm going to give you some examples of how chapter women and alumni associations are using each of these social media sites and right now. And we should also get you thinking, depending on what role, if you have a role in CAPA, how you could be using them within your organizations. But the last one we're going to talk about here is Google+. And Google+ is Google's foray into social networking and social media, and it includes several aspects. It's a little convoluted, and it's growing in popularity, but also there's some that say that it's just not, we don't know if it's going to be around, if it's going to, keep increasing in popularity, if it's going to fall by the wayside. But I'm going to say it in here because Google certainly is super popular. I use Gmail. I love, I have an Android. I love Google Maps, all that. So Google+ includes social networking. It's linked to Gmail. Google bought YouTube a year or two ago, and so if you post videos on YouTube, you can link it with your Google+ account. Google+ has something called Circles, and it's their Facebook-like aspect, and so circles are, like it sounds like, circles of friends or circles of contacts. So you can have different circles. For instance, you could have one called work, you could have one called friends, one called CAPA, one called neighbors, whatever, and then share content only with your relevant circles. So if you have one that's work or colleagues and you want to share with them something related to your field, your friends and your neighbors might not necessarily be interested in that. So that's a nice aspect of it. And in Facebook, you can do that too. You can actually have groups, and you can share different information with different groups of friends in Facebook. So it does have that feature too, but it's kind of just the similar thing in Google here. There's also something called a Hangout. It's a free conference call with up to 10 Google+ users using their app or their website. Google+ pages allow businesses to connect with fans, and Google+ communities allow users to create ongoing conversations. And if you don't already have a Gmail account, if you want to join Google+ and create a Google+ account, you can go to plus.google.com. If you have a Gmail account, you pretty much have to go into just your Gmail settings, or also just if you just go to plus.google.com and you already have a Gmail account and you've been logged in on that computer, it should take you right to your Google+ settings using your Gmail account. And if you see a button on a website that has G+1, so I have an arrow to one of them there, it has all the social media buttons, and it's just a G with a plus symbol. That means that if you click that, you're going to publicly recommend that site or that article or that photo or that recipe to those in your circle. So I don't use Google+. I have an account. I have to say that I certainly haven't embraced it as much as I have other social media sites. I'm not really sure why, since I love Gmail so much, but I haven't. But it's out there, and you'll see social media, the buttons for that on a lot of websites, along with Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. So you can share. If you are a Google Plus user, you can share a lot of information on the web via that. Any other questions, Corey?
No.
Okay. So I mentioned we'll talk a little bit just to give you, we've now talked about 5 or 6 social media and social networking platforms. So in general, just some basic ways that chapters and alums could be using it. So these are things we've seen with our chapter women, with our alumni associations. So Facebook, for example, and we'll start with chapters and active members. So on Facebook, if a chapter has a Facebook page, it's pretty much like almost like having a website. It should be very, general information, anything, it's public, so because anybody can like that page. So you can give general info to potential new members, for example. You can put a little bit about, your chapter, a little bit about Kappa. You can publicize your philanthropy events, publicize any, great awards that your chapter members have received or your chapter as a whole. And then you could also post photos or recaps of philanthropy and sisterhood events. That's just some things that chapters are doing with Facebook. Twitter, tweet fun Kappa facts. We talked about the retweet feature, which is sharing content that's already tweeted with your followers, so you can retweet content from the fraternity's Twitter feed, and then send out shout outs or congratulatory messages about accomplishments that the members have had, or chapter, maybe the chapter won Greek Week or Greek Sing, or they won some big award. So those are some ways chapters are using Twitter. Instagram, a popular one right now, both on Kappa's official Instagram feed as well as on chapters, is to post photos of members who are traveling or studying abroad. We get these great pictures every day of, say, a member in front of the Eiffel Tower who's doing the KKG hand symbol, or a couple chapter members who were traveling together, or Kappas that didn't know each other and found each other in some foreign country. So some fun things like that. Again, it's visual. It's always photos and videos. Chapter members are welcome to put appropriate photos of social events, and we have some social media guidelines outlining what they can and cannot post. Also post pictures of, say, the Big Little Sister reveal or recruitment event decorations, great ideas they have. And then similarly over on Pinterest, again, that's that bulletin board option where you can really share ideas and get great ideas for things like Big Little Sister gifts or crafts, maybe ideas for recipes and drinks or decorations for preference night. And the really popular one, I don't know if you noticed when we saw the Kappa official Pinterest thing, there was a board that was just for t-shirt designs. I think that had the most pins out of all the boards that are up there. So the ever popular t-shirt design ideas. And then LinkedIn, touched on this, obtaining career advice. I see members on there looking for roommates, looking for Kappa references. And switching over to our alum side, how they might want to use these social media and social networking platforms. Again, if there's an Alumni Association page, a Facebook page, you might want to just provide some general info to if anybody's thinking about joining the association. Maybe they just moved to the area. So giving them some information about the types of events you do, when you meet, post pictures of social or philanthropy events that you've had. Twitter, similar to chapters, retweeting content from the fraternity's official Twitter feed. You can tweet out some fun Kappa facts and publicize if you're doing any kind of a philanthropy event, or maybe you're doing a RIF or a literacy event that you can put out there on Twitter. Instagram, again, photos and videos. So maybe you did some great RIF event, you made bookmarks or book bags, you collected a ton of books, or you went and you read to children. That's something you might want to maybe not post the pictures of children for privacy's sake, but you could certainly post other things you did if it's with members. If you're doing tablescapes in your association, those are always great photos to have out there, and any photos of social or association events. Pinterest, if you're doing a great holiday event and you want to post or look for food or beverage ideas, craft ideas for association events, or even book suggestions. So maybe you have on your association Pinterest site, you have a bulletin board that's called book group ideas, or ideas for book group books. And so you have links to maybe the Amazon, the pages with the Amazon book, and there's ideas for upcoming book groups. And then as an alum using LinkedIn, you can either look for or provide career advice, provide Kappa references, and obtain information from other Kappas who live in an area that you're relocating to, or provide that information to somebody who is maybe relocating to your area. just in a nutshell, it's another infographic I found. This one I found on a website called Leverage, and I think this one's also really cool because it outlines just in general about what we talked about tonight. So I think it's interesting just to point a couple things out. So Pinterest, social site, it's about discovery. Again, you're discovering things that are already on the web and basically just posting links to them and pins to them. And it has the largest opportunities, some which we mentioned, so fashion, recipes, decor, and then it lists their babies and wedding, which I could totally see that too. So again, this one says 68% female, so I'm not sure which is the more accurate or current website or statistic actually. So, and then over to Twitter, again, microblogging, limits 140 characters. This says 5,700 tweets happen every second. I bet that's even larger. Facebook, social sharing, 1 billion users. Instagram, all photos and or videos, up to 15-second videos. Google Plus, built by Google, allows for brands and users to build those circles we talked about. And then LinkedIn, more business-oriented. It's social networking for professionals. And it has on there 79% of users are 35 or older. And I think it's also interesting to point out that Facebook, even though it started as something for college students, the demographic for Facebook now is up there too. It's 30s, 40s. If you look at the statistics, younger people are pretty much stepping away from Facebook in favor of other social media sites. Specifically, they're using Instagram a lot. They're not embracing Twitter as much as they thought. That's also skewing a little bit older, but they're definitely stepping away from Facebook, which was the one that was created for them in the first place, I think, which is kind of interesting. These are links to Kappa's social media sites, very easy because they're all the same. So it's just the social media site / Kappa Kappa Gamma. You can always go to Kappa's website and you can see kappa.org and you can see links to all of our official social media sites. And then just for more information, if you'd like to delve further into any of these topics, there is the For Dummies series of books, despite the title, has some great information out there. They have actually specific books for Facebook and Twitter. They also have one that's about social media in general. There's a great website called Mashable.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at @Mashable, and they're a good source for anything related to social media. So trends, news about existing social media platforms, information about new ones coming down the horizon. And then also, as I mentioned before, if you just go to a particular social media site like Facebook.com or Twitter and go to the help section, because that's going to be the most current information. You can also find tutorials and other things online, but the most current information is going to be on the social media site itself. Any questions coming through, Corey?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, there's my question thing. I know I've given you a ton of information, and I hope the takeaway from tonight, because we did go over so much, and some may be relevant to you, some may not, but I hope that you maybe learned a little bit more about the differences between the most popular social networking sites that are out there, and maybe which ones work best for you, and maybe you'll find that, in your professional life, one works better, in your personal life, another works better, in your Kappa life, yet another one works better. But I know there's a ton of information out there, but I hope that you were able to glean some more information about how you best can use these great social networks in your own life. And so I have on there my contact information, which is also in the Kappa Yellow pages. I have on there my cell number as well, and on all the links to my personal social media sites if you want to connect with me on Facebook or something. So. And those questions that if there are questions that we didn't get to, or the couple questions that were, I just didn't have the answer off the top of my head, we will follow up with you after the webinar. So I really like to thank you for taking the time to participate in this, and I hope you have some great sharing online in your social networks. So thanks and have a great night.